Alright guys, I am going to get straight into this. Luke Smith has finally addressed PvP. PvP is finally getting some attention after a long drought of any sort of news for PvP. We've been out in the cold, wondering what are they going to do with PvP, and Luke Smith has decided to talk about it in part 3 of his director's cut. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through it all with you, and then I'm going to tell you why I think there's a good chance Trials of Osiris may be returning. So let's get into it. Part 5, let's talk about PvP. There's been a conversation internally and externally at different points during the year around the support Bungie provides on PvP. On one hand, we have continued to tune the game each quarter, added pinnacle PvP weapons that somehow ended up as pinnacle PvE weapons, tried out a ranking system in the Crucible, and returned the game to its 6v6 roots. On the other hand, haven't released a new permanent game mode. Many game modes from Destiny 1 are nowhere to be seen, there isn't a public facing PvP team, and the last real thing we said was Trials is staying on hiatus indefinitely. Trials of the Nine wasn't the hero we wanted it to be. We made too many changes to a formula that, whilst it had begun to decline in Destiny 1, wasn't as flawed as we thought. When we were making Destiny 2, we talked a lot about making sure it felt like a sequel, bringing in new players and simplifying the game, and Trials of the Nine created another casualty there. It happened on my watch, and if I could turn back time, I'd challenge us to do many things differently. If nothing else, I hope it's clear we are committed to learning from the mistakes we made and making it right. There were some really cool parts to the emissary. Some of the gear was pretty potent. Sup, Darkest Before. You got a good point there, it's definitely a solid gun. The theme felt weaker, the Trials card was less important, and the stakes felt lower. Trials of the Nine didn't work the way we hoped, and Trials of the Nine is on hiatus indefinitely. Now, one thing I want to point out to you guys, do you see that 9? You see how Trials of the Nine and then the 9 is in italics? What he is saying is Trials of the Nine is on hiatus indefinitely, leaving open a big ass window for Trials of Osiris to return to the game. Now, this is maybe a little bit of a reach. Maybe, you know, they're just kind of teasing us with this, but there has to be some sort of reason why emphasis was made on the word 9 when saying Trials of the Nine is on hiatus indefinitely. For me, it seems like there is a very big chance that Trials of Osiris could be returning, and that is huge. Anyway, I'm going to continue to read the rest of this for you guys. So he goes on to say, so why have we been so quiet about PvP? Well, we didn't have a lot to say. We weren't actively developing something to hype up. We knew PvP was going to be something everyone got for free in New Light, so I wasn't really a part of the Shadowkeep core offering. What are we doing about PvP became a question we were asking internally too. A bunch of folks on our team are passionate about PvP and wanted to know where it was heading. PvP is in need of some quality of life improvements and restructuring. This fall, with New Light hopefully bringing a bunch of new folks into Destiny, and with our existing players looking for some updates to PvP, we will start by making significant changes to the PvP portion of the director. Today, it's a fine balance between adding playlists and maintaining healthy populations when we're looking at changes to playlist structures. We want to achieve a couple of goals. First, we want players to have some agency with respect to pick a playlist, pick a mode, and second, we want the playlist to drift back to that everything is a factor of 3 that Destiny 1 used and that the rest of the game mostly uses. Player counts being based on a common number like 3 is important. It enables a bunch of activity options for a group of friends to engage with. In Destiny 1, players could run a couple strike groups, team up for a raid, go play 6v6 PvP, split up and go to 3v3 PvP, etc. At launch, Destiny 2's 4v4 PvP completely broke this pattern, and we want to reset that bone with PvP this fall. We revised the playlist a lot, and here how it's going to work. We've removed the quick play and competitive nodes from the director. If you're looking for an experience like quick play, we've added Classic Mix, a connection based playlist like quick play today. Classic Mix includes Control, Clash and Supremacy. Competitive is replaced by 3v3 Survival, which now awards Glory. We've also added a Survival solo queue playlist that also awards Glory. Very interesting changes. I don't know how I feel about it being Survival, to be honest. That Survival solo queue, well, that's just an RNG fest on whether or not you get teammates who want to die all game or not. But it's definitely very good to have a solo queue competitive playlist. That is a huge thing. With it being Survival, that's interesting. 3v3 Survival, damn, we got, you know, it may not be Trials, but this is something kind of significant. Anyway, they go on to say, we have added 6v6 Control as its own playlist. That's pretty cool. With the potential influx of new players this fall, we want to have a playlist that signals to new players that this is where to start. We feel like 6v6 Control is the right starting place when introducing new friends to Destiny. We've added a weekly 6v6 rotator and a weekly 4v4 rotator. These rotator playlists are where modes like Clash, Supremacy, Mayhem, Lockdown, and Countdown will appear. We removed some underperforming maps from matchmaking too. Oh my god, please. Firebase, Echo, Equinox, Citadel, please. We've also been working on 4 variants of 3v3 elimination. They include different approaches to revives, token resurrection or not, and variations on how heavy ammo works. Elimination is going to make a return in Crucible Labs. However, elimination is very much unfinished. It's missing VO, and there are no unique medals associated with it. Being the missing polish and the 4 variants we'd like your feedback on, elimination, for the time being, is a great fit for Crucible Labs. We fully expect it to graduate out of labs and find a warmer home. Okay, so elimination is back. Maybe this is a precursor to what they think the Trials game mode will be, so they want to try out a few different variations of elimination, and then once we settle on one as a community, they'll be like, right, we're going to use this one for Trials. Maybe. We wanted to make sure we could test elimination on some familiar maps, so we brought back Widow's Court and Twilight Gap. We want to play with you and watch you play elimination in this combat sandbox and see how it all fits together. We're also changing how we do matchmaking. With a bunch of potential new players entering Destiny via New Light, we don't want PvP to feel like you're being told it's time to learn to swim as the helicopter door opens over the Pacific Ocean. So we've made some changes to separate new swimmers from the Olympians. I want to say Luke Smith is really, he really knows how to write. This is good stuff. Additionally, we've also taken a longer look at matchmaking and overhauled the skill matching system. In the game today, Quick Play is the only playlist that doesn't have some version of skill matching in the game. We're preserving that behavior, connection matchmaking, in the 6v6 classic mix playlist. Here's what gets really annoying about skill match. When it's overly restrictive, it's fatiguing when every single game feels like a sweat fest. When it's overly loose, a player can get an entire evening of unlucky matchmaking RNG, they're getting dumped on by squads of Terminators shredding Kinderguardians. A bad time for the Kinderguardians. There's much more complexity and nuance to an evening of PvP than those 2 statements above, but they do accurately capture the core problem, a lack of match-to-match variety. Sure, for a bunch of Terminators, a night of stomping might be a blast, but what about the folks on the receiving end of that business? This is where it gets tricky to improve matchmaking. People generally tend to focus on their own experience in their feedback. We think variety across an evening of PvP is important. This fall, skill match should ensure a wider variety of matches, regardless of player skill. Some matches should be tense and thrilling, while other matches should be stomps. This philosophy should apply to the top players so they don't feel like every match is a sweat show either. Very, very interesting changes there. So are they adding skill-based matchmaking back into the game, but it's going to be more nuanced than before? I mean, we'll have to see how this goes when it's implemented. We've refactored how players gain glory ranks with these skill match changes, by factoring in your skill value to glory gains and losses so that number can more effectively represent skill. Okay, that's very, very interesting. Well, we'll see how this plays out, I guess, in October. We've also made a number of quality of life changes to glory, valor, and infamy to make losses less punishing to your streaks. Once the above changes go live in October, we'll be watching, listening, and reading as you check them out. Now that is some very, very interesting news overall. A ton of stuff to take in as far as PvP goes. We're getting elimination back, the playlists are getting a complete overhaul, and there's a hint that Trials may be returning. So guys, I want to know what you guys think in the comment section about all of this. Are you now hyped for PvP? Are you going to be super excited to try out PvP in October? Or are you kind of just not impressed? I mean, for me personally, I am quite impressed by the changes. If I'm being 100% honest, I just wish in this director's cut, Luke Smith was like, yo, Trials of Osiris is coming back, guys. But instead, he's not saying that. But he is saying quite a lot of encouraging things. A solo queue competitive playlist is a huge step forward. 3v3 or competitive as a whole, I don't know how that's going to play out, but I've always preferred 3v3 to 4v4 personally. I never really liked 4v4. I never, was a fan of it. Obviously, we had 4v4 shoved down our throats at the beginning of Destiny 2, and now it seems we are making a step away from that and going back to 6s and 3s. That, for me, is how Destiny plays at its best, in my opinion. 3v3 for when you want to get a little bit more into it, 6v6 for when you just want to be a bit casual and, have a laugh with your friends. So, we'll see. October's not so far away now, and I am definitely interested to see how all of these changes play out. I do think there is more for us to learn, and they probably will be revealing more and more over the course of the rest of the summer. And there's probably going to be a lot of sandbox changes as well. He did also mention earlier in the article that supers are being readjusted, how quickly you get them, how long they last. So all of these little things, if they get put into place correctly, I think PvP could be in a much better spot from October, and I am quite excited to see what happens. So guys, if you're excited like me, don't forget to hit that like button, leave a comment on this video, and hit that subscribe button for more daily Destiny 2 content.